After the car accident, I decided to fake amnesia, just to amuse my husband and son. Who are you? I asked, my tone flat. My 5-year-old son, Lucas, seemed delighted by my question. His eyes sparkled with mischief as he led a woman into the hospital room. Auntie, he said sweetly, my parents and I are here to visit the patient. Ethan, my husband, stood silently beside him, making no attempt to correct Lucas's words. The woman Lucas brought along wore a flowing white dress. Her demeanor gentle and refined, she looked momentarily flustered when I met her gaze, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, avoiding my eyes. I had a bandage wrapped around my forehead. Lucas stood in front of them protectively, gripping each of their hands, his face beaming with that sly little smile I knew too well. If I had truly lost my memory, I might have believed that the 3 people in front of me were a picture-perfect family, warm, harmonious, whole. Lucas leaned in close to Ethan and whispered, loud enough for me to hear, Dad, since Mom lost her memory, can you guys get divorced now? It was classic Lucas. He was still punishing me for scolding him the day before. Just a few words in front of the servants that bruised his pride. He had gotten upset and, as usual, decided to get back at me in the most creative way possible. This was his kind of prank, and though he found it entertaining, I was tired of playing along. If I said I had lost my memory, then I would keep pretending. I would pretend I had no husband, no son. Excuse me, who are you? I asked again, this time with absolute sincerity in my voice. Lucas froze, clearly stunned. His confidence faltered. You really don't remember me. You can't have forgotten. I am your favorite child. Ethan's face darkened, his expression growing cold. Naomi, stop pretending. The doctor said it was just a mild concussion, not enough to wipe your memory. Do not think you can escape divorce by faking amnesia. Lucas crossed his arms and glared at me. Exactly, stop acting. You love us so much. How could you possibly forget us? The way he looked at me, sharp and cold, was a perfect reflection of Ethan. I felt a dull ache pulsing in my temple. Before I could respond, the nurse knocked on the door. The patient needs to rest. If you are not family, please step out. Without a word, Ethan and Lucas left the room, taking Claire with them. The nurse walked over and said softly, your husband just stepped out to buy you some porridge. I looked at her, confused. My husband? Didn't he just leave? She blinked, puzzled. No, I mean your real husband. I used to work in the OBGYN department here 4 years ago. I saw you several times. You were unforgettable, so beautiful. I had indeed come here for prenatal checkups 4 years ago, but Ethan had never shown up once. The nurse continued. Your husband was always waiting outside for you. Tall, handsome, not once looking at his phone. He just waited there anxiously. We all thought he was so devoted. He made us believe in love again. She frowned thoughtfully. By the way, who were those 2 just now? Handsome, yes. But their expressions were dark like debt collectors. I could not help but laugh. Ethan never came to any of my 14 prenatal appointments. The man who did was Ian, my younger brother, 5 years my junior. He had just turned 18 back then. I said nothing to correct the nurse's assumption about Ethan and Lucas. Soon, there would be nothing left to correct. There would be no relationship left to speak of. Later, Ian came rushing in, slightly out of breath, carrying a lunchbox. I had not eaten all day. My stomach was growling. He opened the box, setting it on the small table beside the bed. He neatly laid out a spoon, a napkin, and a glass of warm water. This is preserved egg and lean pork congee. Your favorite. Eat first. I'll peel the eggs for you. I accepted his kindness without hesitation. Ian had been loyal to me ever since my grandfather brought him home when I was 15. Since then, he had followed me like a shadow, fiercely protective. After a few mouthfuls of porridge, my stomach finally began to feel better. When I looked up, I noticed Ian's eyes were red. You scared me to death, he said, voice trembling. When I heard you had a car accident, I didn't know what to do. My chest tightened, a wave of emotion rising in my throat. Who wouldn't be afraid in a car crash? I had been lucky, no major injuries, but still, I had felt the need to pretend, to fake memory loss. Not because I wanted sympathy, but because I thought it would make Ethan and Lucas worry. I thought it might mean something to them. But how could heartless people care about someone else's pain? a few days later. I was discharged from the hospital. I insisted to the doctor that I had forgotten everything, except Ethan and Lucas. As I left, the doctor pulled Ethan aside and explained that my memory loss was temporary, it was caused by the concussion and should gradually improve over time. When I returned home with Ethan, the first thing I heard was the sound of piano music flowing through the living room. Claire and Lucas were seated side by side at the keys, playing a light, cheerful duet. Claire turned and smiled, giving Lucas a thumbs up. "Our little pianist is amazing." Lucas blushed with pride. "You taught me well, a picture-perfect scene, a gentle woman and a bright, talented child, a loving mother, a devoted son," but neither of them had anything to do with me. I walked up the stairs without changing my expression. The moment Lucas saw me, the smile on his face vanished. Claire quickly stood up. "Naomi, how are you?" she asked politely. I paused halfway up the stairs and nodded. "I am almost recovered. Please, go on." I did not hate Claire, I envied her. She was never the third party in my marriage to Ethan. Claire was Ethan's first love, the one he had never forgotten. There is a saying I now understand deeply: the real third party is the one who is not loved. When Ethan was 18, at the peak of his youth, I watched him fall in love for the first time. With a passion so intense, it was unforgettable. Last month, the Wen family declared bankruptcy, and Claire had no choice but to return home. She used all her savings to cover their debts, but as a music major, finding a well-paid job back in China proved difficult. Ethan found her and invited her to be Lucas's piano teacher, $600,000 a month. New mommy is so kind. I love new mommy the most. Lucas shouted in the living room. "Lucas, I'm not. Please don't call me that," Claire said awkwardly. Lucas frowned at her correction. Wrapping his arms around Claire's leg, he pouted. "If you call me Lucas again, I'll be angry. You should call me Lucas baby. You're much gentler than my mom. I like you best." He looked upstairs, seeing I had not come down yet. He continued, "Can you live in my house? I want to see you every morning when I wake up." My dad already said yes. "Why don't you stay? Our house is so big. You can have anything you want." Ethan had actually asked Claire to move in. There were plenty of rooms, and she would not need to commute. After all, Claire was broke, but she refused. She insisted on renting her own place and declined Ethan's offer. "Lucas baby, you should keep practicing today's piece," she said gently. Lucas shook his head, determined to change her mind. "Are you afraid of my mom? Don't worry, my dad and I will protect you. She listens to him. She won't hurt you. Lucas is my son. He is smart. He knows exactly what to say to pierce my heart." I fastened my pearl earrings, composed myself, and walked down the stairs. Claire looked up, flustered. "Naomi, it's all right, Claire," I said calmly. "You can stay here. I know it takes you 3 hours by bus each day." I accepted the shoes the servant handed me. "You don't need to feel guilty. I am happy that you're back." Lucas was stunned. In the past, if Dad ever called out Claire's name while drunk, Mom would cry with red eyes. This was not Lucas and Claire's first meeting. Last month, when Claire visited, Lucas had seen the carefully preserved photos in his dad's drawer, the names Ethan muttered in his sleep when drunk. Claire's name was among them. To Lucas, Claire had once been the perfect weapon to punish his mother, but now, that weapon no longer worked. "I want ice cream. Bring me 2, no, 10. The only sound in response was the door closing behind me. During Ethan's hospital stay, he had looked unkempt every day. Once discharged, he rushed straight to a beauty salon for skincare. The driver had been waiting outside for a long time. But inside, Lucas put away his expression and called out, "Master, the ice cream is here." The servant hurried over. "Who wants it?" Lucas grabbed the ice cream and threw it on the floor. He stared at the closed door. Had his mother really forgotten him? Ethan's mother, Grace, found out that Claire had returned and was now Lucas's piano teacher. She rushed over with several luxury shopping bags in hand. Seated gracefully on the sofa, she held Claire's hands with warmth. "Claire, my good child, you've suffered so much. If only you had stayed with Ethan from the beginning. He could have helped you manage the Wen group. Your family would never have collapsed." Claire looked uncomfortable. "Auntie, please don't say that. What's past is past. I'm already grateful Ethan gave me a job. What's there to avoid saying?" Grace smiled and patted her hand. "I feel at ease leaving Lucas with you." Then she whispered, "Did you know Ethan wants a divorce? He brought it up right after you came back." "What does that tell you?" She reassured her quickly. "Do not worry. Grandma Jojo likes you very much. You will never be wronged in this family. And Ethan, he will help you when family get back on its feet." Grace never told me she would visit. Even though she knew I was home, I tactfully stayed out of their way, allowing them to reminisce. It wasn't just Ethan. Lucas liked Claire. Grace adored her. Even before Ethan and I got married, Grace had wanted Claire to be her daughter-in-law. Claire came from a prestigious family. She was refined, cultured. A perfect match for the Pay family. And when Ethan fell in love with her at first sight, Grace had been thrilled. She immediately began making plans to unite the two families. But Claire rejected Ethan's confession and went abroad to continue studying music. Grace had been disappointed, but she admired Claire even more, saw her as a girl with conviction, with dreams, and me, born into an ordinary family, I was seen as vain, shallow, greedy for wealth and status. Someone who would do anything just to marry Ethan. I could always tell that Grace looked down on me, perhaps even hated me, though her good manners kept her from showing it outright. Sometimes I wondered if things would have been better for everyone if Claire had married Ethan from the very beginning. Maybe that would have been the happy ending we all needed. My phone vibrated, pulling me from my thoughts. It was a message reminding me that the accident insurance payout from the recent car crash had been deposited. I had hoped that time would help me forget that day, that the fear would fade eventually, but whenever I closed my eyes, the memories came flooding back, as vivid as ever. It had been raining heavily that day. Ethan and I were on the highway when he received a phone call. I could clearly hear the voice on the other end. "Ethan, a group of debt collectors is heading to the one family estate. They are targeting the eldest daughter." Ethan gave me a quick sideways glance. He was not asking for permission. He was informing me. I knew immediately he was going to find Claire. "We are heading in the opposite direction." I whispered, "Please drop me at the next service area. I will take a taxi back on my own." As soon as I stepped out of the car, rain soaked through my clothes. Even though I had hurriedly opened my umbrella, the black Bentley sped away, splashing muddy water all over me. And just like that, the storm outside met the storm within me. The taxi I took afterward was old and worn down. While driving on the highway, the tires lost their grip. The moment the car began to skid, fear surged through my entire body. I quickly fastened the seatbelt in the back seat, my heart pounding uncontrollably. Then came the crash, a loud bang, and my head slammed hard against the window. In that split second, time seemed to slow, and my thoughts drifted. My mind, helplessly, replayed the first half of my life. But every memory circled back to Ethan. When I was 10, my parents took out a loan they could barely afford to buy a villa in one of Beijing's most prestigious neighborhoods. That was where I met Ethan. My parents repeatedly reminded me to be polite, to impress him. "He is the prince of the Beijing elite," they would say. Ethan was beautiful, and I willingly followed him everywhere. For 7 years, I chased after him. At 17, I began to realize I liked him, but he hated me. I loved him more than anything. For a whole year, people in his circle called me a dog, others mockingly referred to me as clown sister. At 18, Ethan fell in love with Claire. I watched him chase her endlessly, only to fall into despair after they broke up. When I was 21, Ethan got drunk one night. He pushed me onto the bed and kissed me, but he called out Claire's name again and again. I should have slapped him and walked away, but I didn't. I stayed. My father's company was on the verge of collapse and needed money badly, and deep down, a part of me believed this was what I had wanted for over a decade, so I endured it. Every moment he called Claire's name, I remained silent. Soon after, Ethan's grandfather found out. The Pay family had always been conservative. He demanded Ethan marry me, and so, I got what I had dreamed of. I married Ethan. At 22, I became pregnant. It was a difficult pregnancy. I suffered severe morning sickness. And the delivery was agonizing. Memory, I realized, was like a net of tangled pain. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in a hospital bed, aching all over, my head pounding. At 27, my son looked me in the eye and called Claire Mom while standing right beside my hospital bed. Ethan said nothing. He accepted it. I pretended not to care. But inside, something shattered. Again and again, the man I once cherished was quietly hoping I would disappear from his life sooner. I stayed silent. Perhaps happiness had never belonged to me, but I still wanted to ask, would you speak ill of the person you love? I wanted to ask Ethan. I wanted to ask Lucas, but every time they looked at Claire, I already knew the answer. Ethan fell in love with Claire the moment he saw her, and Lucas, my son, felt the same. The first time he expressed affection toward someone, it was for her. People tend to stay loyal to their first impressions. Lucas is becoming more and more like his father, not just in looks, but in personality, in interests. They both like Claire, and honestly, I never blamed Claire. She was never the third party. I was. From the moment I took what was hers, I became the one who stole. The reason people suffer is because they chase the wrong things. This marriage, mine and Ethan's, has come to an end. It is time to give him and Lucas back to Claire. In truth, Ethan had already prepared the divorce papers the day Claire returned. He had wanted this for a long time. All he needed was the right moment to chase after her again. So I notified the Pei family's lawyer and accompanied him to Ethan's office. I agree to the divorce, I told Ethan calmly. He looked surprised. Lawyer Zhong handed us each a copy of the agreement. I signed without hesitation. Ethan hesitated. His fingers turned pale from gripping the pen too tightly. Mr. Ethan, the lawyer said gently, you can sign after giving it more thought. But I knew exactly how Ethan felt. Even a dog that followed him for 16 years might earn some sympathy. He glanced at me, looking uncertain. I nodded. I don't want either of you. He looked at me again, trying to read my face, searching for grief or reluctance, hoping to see pain. But I gave him nothing. Frustrated, he clenched the pen and signed angrily. Meanwhile, I flipped straight to the property settlement document. After reviewing the terms, I left the office feeling completely satisfied. In the now empty room, Lawyer Zhong felt the temperature drop. He shivered slightly, sensing that Ethan's coldness was not just in his expression, but in every inch of the air around him. Ethan, do you want to publicly announce your divorce from your wife? No, he replied, waving the idea off. She is just throwing a tantrum. As soon as he said it, he seemed to comfort himself with the thought. His tense expression relaxed, and even the crease between his brows eased. Do not worry, he continued. She will come back on her own. She just lost her memory and forgot about me and Lucas. She loves us too much to stay away. The doctor said the memory loss is only temporary. Once she remembers, she will come running back, crying, begging me to take her back. He nodded confidently, as if trying to convince not just his lawyer but himself. This divorce, it is just a punishment for forgetting us. When she returns and apologizes, I will forgive her. We will remarry. His spirits lifted almost instantly. He took a sip of coffee, appearing pleased with his fantasy. Lawyer Zhong, standing nearby, was drenched in sweat. He pulled a tissue from his pocket and wiped his forehead nervously. The divorce agreement has already been signed, and the property division finalized, he said cautiously. Are you sure Madam is just throwing a tantrum? When I walked out of the villa for the last time, I thought I would feel heartbroken. After all, this had been my home for 6 years, but instead, I felt relieved, as if I had broken free from chains I had not even realized were binding me. I was no longer someone's wife or someone's mother. I did not need to please anyone anymore. I no longer had to tiptoe around anyone's dislikes, while they were both away. I called in 3 moving trucks and spent tens of thousands hiring 3 Japanese moving companies. I packed up all my luxury handbags, clothes, jewelry, and skincare products. I also took my baking tools, an entire cabinet of carefully selected dishes and chopsticks, a few pieces of furniture I had grown accustomed to, and many of the home decorations I had bought, even the gifts I had purchased for Ethan and Lucas, items they never appreciated, items that sat untouched in a cabinet corner. I packed those too, since they never cared for them. I figured I might as well sell them secondhand and let them retain some final value. After all, we were divorced now. If they ever came across those items again, they would probably feel irritated. Better to remove all traces. There was so much to pack. But thankfully I had booked companies with enough manpower. Everything was boxed and loaded in less than 2 hours. The house, once full, suddenly felt hollow. When Ethan returned and saw the place, he would probably be pleased. It would look clean and tidy, just the way he liked it. He always complained about having too many things around. Well, now there was space, plenty of it. I was even thoughtful enough to leave room for the next woman who would be moving in. Before I stepped out of the courtyard for the final time, I turned and looked at the villa once more. I knew I would never come back. Aunt Jong stood at the gate, quietly wiping her tears. "Madam, are you really leaving?" She had been with me since I first moved in. She had always treated me like her own daughter. I held her hands tightly and gave a gentle smile. "You should congratulate me. This is a good thing." Ethan had handled the property division quickly. With the funds transferred to my account, I immediately purchased a 200 square meter apartment I had been eyeing for a while. The previous owner had moved abroad, and the flat was already fully furnished in a charming French romantic style. I fell in love with it at first sight. No renovations were needed. I could move in that very day. I signed the contract swiftly, and the movers transported everything to my new place. I had even hired professional organizers in advance. Within half a day, all my belongings were neatly arranged, money well spent. I lay back comfortably in a recliner by the French windows, staring out at the view. At last, my life can begin again. Not long after, Ian arrived, arms full of shopping bags. He was the first person I told about the divorce. Over the years, I had become so used to confiding in him. No matter how big or small the matter, he had always stood by me without question. "Why did you bring so much stuff?" I asked. Eyeing the bags, he grinned. "The first meal in the new house should be a home-cooked one. I bought vegetables, fruit, and milk, since the weather is cold. Let the fruit sit out a bit before eating." As he spoke, he neatly placed everything into the refrigerator. "You are like a little housekeeper," I teased. Just then, a box on the floor suddenly moved. I jumped in surprise. "Ian, the box is moving," he chuckled. "It is a gift. Go on, open it." I was a little hesitant, but then I heard a soft meow. My eyes lit up, and I rushed over. When I opened the box carefully, a golden tabby kitten peeked out and rubbed itself against my leg. My heart instantly melted. Because Ethan had a fear of animals, I never dared to keep a pet. Ian was the only one who knew how much I loved cats. Cradling the kitten in my arms, I beamed. "Ian, you are like a mind-reader." I played with the kitten for a long time and decided to name her Marshmallow. Ian soon finished cooking. He picked up a piece of sweet and sour pork rib and placed it in my bowl. "You are alone tonight. Are you going to be okay?" he asked, his eyes filled with concern. He was probably worried I would feel lost or unable to let go, considering how much I had once loved Ethan. "Do not worry," I said calmly. "I was the one who asked for the divorce. I have no feelings for him anymore." After the car accident, it felt like my mind had finally cleared. For the first time in a long while, I could think with calm clarity. Ian noticed the change in my expression, saw how relaxed I looked, and realized it was genuine. He smiled, clearly relieved. "I'm really happy you figured it out," he said gently. "It's Ethan who didn't deserve you. Now that you are divorced, have you thought about going back to the company?" Before I got pregnant, I had helped my father run the company. But after my pregnancy, my father handed the business over to Ian. He was only 18 at the time and still on summer break, which made many shareholders uneasy. But it turned out that my father had trusted the right person. Within just 2 months, the company's revenue had doubled, maybe even tripled. While juggling his studies, Ian managed the business exceptionally well and quickly became one of the most talked about rising stars in the corporate world. I truly wanted to return to work. But the reality was that I had not been in the office for 5 years. Ian set down his chopsticks and looked me in the eye. "With your ability, you will pick it up again in no time. Have you forgotten how brightly you once shined in the business world?" My heart raced. I still remembered the thrill of closing my very first deal. I nodded, finally agreeing to return to the company. 2 days later, it was my father's birthday. I went back home with Ian. Sitting in the living room, I gathered my courage and said, "Dad, Mom, I'm divorced." My father's face immediately darkened. He raised his hand, as if to strike me. "Dad," Ian shouted, Rushing to stop him, my mother hurried forward, placing herself between us and wrapping her arms around me protectively. "What are you doing?" she said, her voice trembling. "We've already ruined half of our daughter's life. She's an adult now. Let her make her own decisions. Give her back her freedom." Her words hit something deep inside me. A flood of emotions surged through my chest, and I collapsed into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. My father's eyes turned red. Then, in a moment of self-blame, he raised his own hand and slapped himself. "I'm a useless father. I knew the Pay family was dangerous, and yet I still let you get close to Ethan. I should be the last person to judge you." My mother pulled me toward the sofa and sat me down. "Naomi, if you want a divorce, then divorce. Your father and I have seen it all these years." She then turned to Ian and me. "Let Ian move in with you, to take care of you." I looked up in surprise. "That's too much trouble for Ian," I replied. "Besides, I'm a grown woman. I do not need my younger brother looking after me." Ian looked at me with a blank expression. "Naomi, you have never lived alone, and there are a lot of things at the company that still need to be handed over. You are going to need help." He was right. I had just returned to work. I could not survive on takeout forever, and I certainly could not eat the food I made myself. I was not that brave. "Oh, and there's Marshmallow," I added quickly, referring to my dog. "Someone still has to help clean up after him." I nodded. "All right, you can stay." Ian let out a long breath of relief, and my mother laughed. "Honestly, who else still treats you like a child other than Ian?" But in my heart, I felt the opposite. Ian had clearly outgrown the role of a younger brother. I found myself reminiscing about the days when he used to cling to me like a sticky rice ball, following me everywhere. Now, though my work kept me busy, I felt fulfilled for the first time in years. That sense of energy, like leveling up in a game, was back. After working late one evening, I finally returned home. The lights were still on, and I realized Ian had been waiting for me. I had always been the one waiting for Ethan to come home. This was the first time someone had waited for me. With dinner prepared, a smile tugged at the corners of my lips, I stepped into the living room and found Ian asleep, slouched in a reclining chair. I walked over quietly, holding a blanket in my hands, but as I got closer, I stopped in my tracks. Ian was lying on a single recliner, clearly too small for him. His legs dangled off the edge. I had never noticed it before, but now it struck me. Ian had grown up. I lowered my eyes and found them lingering on his chest muscles. He looked strong, sculpted, and attractive. My gaze fell to the open collar of his bathrobe. His skin looked smooth, almost soft to the touch. The robe hung loosely, revealing the curves of his toned chest, and just at the edge, I could make out a hint of pink. My breath caught. A strange heat rushed to my cheeks, and I quickly shook my head, trying to chase away the images flooding my mind. I had to be overtired. Maybe I was even a little drunk. I bent down, trying to gently lay the blanket over him. But as I looked up, my eyes locked with his. He was awake. I froze, startled. I lost my balance and stumbled forward, falling straight onto him. My face landed on his bare chest, my lips brushing against the warm skin just above his heart, and right near my mouth was that tempting shade of pink again. My aging face flushed with embarrassment as I struggled to get off Ian. The recliner beneath us wobbled, making it hard to find a stable point to push myself up. Just as I managed to lift myself slightly, the chair shifted again, and I ended up falling right back onto Ian's chest, my face buried against him. It was not intentional, but it looked like I had thrown myself at him. Ian steadied the chair with one hand while the other wrapped around my waist. He sat up and held me there with ease. "Naomi, what are you doing?" His voice was still hoarse, thick with sleep. I quickly pulled the blanket up to hide my face. "I was just trying to cover you with a blanket." He let out a low chuckle, his chest moving beneath me as he laughed. That was when I realized I was still sitting on his lap. Flustered, I threw the blanket over his head and scrambled to my feet, then hurried back to my room, cheeks burning. In the past few days, I had gradually taken control of the company's affairs, and I felt surprisingly relaxed. I even hummed to myself as I walked through the community, until I spotted Ethan's car parked in the lot. Just my luck. As I walked, I mentally counted the days until I could finally go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and get the divorce certificate. Lucas was waiting by the elevator, blocking the door. "Dad asked me to come find you," he said. He looked annoyed but still obedient. "He told me to apologize to you." He avoided my eyes, muttering, "I'm sorry. Calling Claire Mom last time was just a joke. Who knew if you really lost your memory or not?" "It's all right," I said softly. Lucas turned to look at me, his expression lighting up, but before he could speak again, I added, "Your dad and I are already divorced. You don't have to apologize to me. Whoever you want to call Mom now is up to you. Claire will soon be your new mom. She is a good person, and you like her. I think your life will be happier with her." Lucas followed me all the way to the door and showed no intention of leaving. "Do you need something else?" I asked. "If not, I'm closing the door now." His eyes widened in disbelief. I apologized. "And you still won't forgive me? You're going to regret this." Tears welled up in his eyes as I began to close the door. It was the first time I had treated him so coldly. I could hear his angry voice from the hallway as the door clicked shut. "When you get your memory back and remember me, don't come begging for my forgiveness. Even if you kneel down, I won't forgive you." I stood there silently for a moment, the first time I heard Lucas speak like that. I had hidden in my room and cried, wondering if I had failed as a mother, wondering why my own son did not like me, whether I was unworthy of being loved. But now, I felt nothing. The bond between us had snapped the moment he called another woman Mom. Sometimes I suspected Ian was trying to seduce me, but I never had solid proof. Like now, he was in casual home clothes, making coffee for me. His white cotton t-shirt and grey sweatpants made him look like a college student. No, he really had just graduated from college, so fresh, so youthful. I lay on the sofa and sighed quietly. That waist, those hips, what a beautiful view. No wonder people keep male models around. Ian brought over a cup of coffee. I quickly picked up a magazine and pretended to be reading intently. I took the cup and sipped. Just as Ian sat down, Marshmallow, the cat, jumped onto his lap and sprawled out comfortably. My eyes drifted toward them. And then something caught my attention. Those grey pants again. Wait, that corner. I stared without thinking. Ian leaned close to my ear and whispered, his breath brushing against my skin. "Naomi, what are you looking at?" My ears burned, my breath caught. I looked away in every direction. I was just thinking the cat got big. I stammered, then bolted to my room, face flushed. Inside, I grabbed my phone and messaged my best friend. Ever since Ian moved in, I felt like he was seducing me on purpose. Every day, should I find a man? She immediately called me, voice filled with excitement. "You finally opened your eyes. Do you only now realize that handsome man has liked you for years?" I blinked. "Wait, he likes me? I thought he always saw me as a sister." I placed a hand over my heart. I had no idea why it was racing. "Come on," she scoffed. "Anyone with eyes can tell. He plays the sweet innocent in front of you, but outside, he is totally the type who could scare people. You should really think about it. You're divorced. Ian is so much better than that jerk." I was overwhelmed. The company kept me busy enough. I had no energy to think about romance. Just as I ended the call, another one came in. It was Ethan. "Naomi, Lucas has a fever. He keeps crying for you. Can you come see him?" His voice sounded different. For the first time, there was a pleading tone. I stepped onto the balcony and let the cool wind brush against my face. "Ethan," I said softly, "do you know how many times I called you like this? This is my first time being a mother. Every time Lucas got sick, I would panic. I did not know what to do, even with the family doctor around. I still called you with shaking hands. I cried, begging you to come home." I paused, hearing his silence on the other end. "But what did you say then?" I still remember it so clearly. Your cold voice still echoes in my ears. You said, "You can't even take care of yourself. How could you possibly take care of Lucas?" There was a long pause. His voice was hoarse when he finally spoke. "You are right, everything you said is right." Then, with hesitation I had never heard from him before, he asked, "Naomi, have you regained your memory?" "I never lost my memory. Not from beginning to end," I said clearly. "See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau in a month. And do not think I will come back to you after I remember everything. There is no future for us anymore." I spoke each word slowly and firmly. On the other end of the line, I thought I heard the faint sound of glass shattering. I hung up before he could respond, blocked his number without hesitation, and made a note to contact him again in exactly 1 month. From that day forward, I often saw Ethan, but he never approached me. He simply sat in his car, quietly watching from a distance, never interfering with my life. Maybe it was unwillingness, maybe it was that familiar flaw men have, wanting most what they cannot have. As for me, I saw Ethan as nothing more than a stranger passing by. Today is Sunday. When I opened the door, Lucas stood there holding a large photo album. Without waiting for an invitation, he squeezed through the gap and settled comfortably on the sofa. As if he belonged here, he seemed to forget how, the last time he came, he had demanded I kneel and beg for forgiveness. Lucas flipped open the album and waved me over. "Mom, look, this is me when I was still in your belly. And this one, this is when I had just been born. Cute, right? Grandma said I was the cutest baby in the whole hospital." He was trying to stir my maternal feelings, but as I looked at the photos, all I felt was pain. In those pictures, I was painfully thin, my face pale and drawn, but my belly round and full. That was the time I suffered the worst pregnancy symptoms. I could barely eat, vomiting everything. My hair was dry and brittle. Lucas had been a restless baby, kicking me relentlessly through the night. I stared at the images and sighed. So selfish. Lucas tilted his head. "Mom, what did you say?" I looked him straight in the eye. "I was weak and sickly in those photos. Because of you, and all you care about is yourself. You have no idea how hard it was for me to bring you into this world after 10 months of pain." Lucas could not understand. He never would. He was just like his father. Intelligent, but emotionally self-centered. I closed the album. "Go, these photos only bring back painful memories." He refused to leave. Until finally the Pei family's housekeeper came and took him home. But Lucas was not willing to give up so easily. A few days later, he came back holding a ceramic plate. "Mom, look. You made this for me. You said you spent the whole day making it. Then, why is it broken?" He hesitated, but I already knew the answer. He had broken it himself. He probably thought it looked too ugly, too embarrassing to take to school. One of the sharp ceramic pieces had sliced my arm that day. The scar it left behind had never completely faded. I was not particularly skilled in art, and this plate had been the best of the dozen I attempted. In the end, Ethan had bought a handcrafted piece from a professional artist for Lucas to bring to school. As for my plate, I glued it back together, piece by piece. But once a thing is cracked, it can never be whole again. It becomes a defective product. I threw it into the trash. It shattered instantly. Since he already had a better replacement, there was no need to keep the broken one. Lucas stared at the shards, stunned. Then, a spark lit up in his eyes. "Mom, did you get your memory back? You remember me now, right?" I shook my head. "No, I never lost my memory. I just do not want to remember you or Ethan anymore." I had no intention of continuing the conversation. I told Lucas to leave. He walked out slowly, clearly dazed. That evening, I had a dinner gathering. Ian found out and insisted on joining. He was worried I would drink too much. But in the end, it was he who could not hold his liquor. Neither of us could drive, so I helped him walk home. The cold night air was a perfect excuse to sober up. As we strolled under the streetlights, I asked lightly, "Ian, do you like me?" He stopped. His dark eyes suddenly sparkled. He looked at me in silence for a long time, then looked away, cheeks reddening. He gave a firm nod. My heart skipped. I quickly changed the subject. "What did you drink just now?" He thought for a moment. "I think, brandy." "Really?" I asked. "Bend down," I said playfully. He bent obediently, leaning closer. His lips were soft and full, glistening slightly. I leaned in and kissed him. They tasted just like marshmallows soaked in brandy. I licked my lips slowly. "Yep, definitely brandy." Then I turned and walked ahead, leaving Ian standing there, completely frozen, his face flushed all the way to his ears. He ran to catch up and hugged me from behind, wrapping his arms tightly around my waist. He buried his face into my neck, grinning like a child. "Naomi, I like you so much." When we got home, Ian seemed to sober up a little. He pressed me against the door. "Naomi, can I kiss you?" he asked, eyes burning. When I nodded, it was like watching a puppy spot a bone. He kissed me, trailing from my lips down to my collarbone, but when he felt me tremble slightly, he stopped, leaning close to my ear. His voice low and warm, he whispered, "Naomi, stop pushing me away." In the darkness, I slowly unbuckled his belt. Elsewhere, at a party hosted by Ethan's friends, Ethan drank in silence, barely listening, until he overheard the gossiping voices around him. Suddenly, with a loud crash, Ethan overturned the table beside him. "What did you just say?" he growled. "Ian is just the adopted son of the Shan family." Someone repeated, "He has always liked Naomi." Ethan's face darkened instantly. His voice turned ice cold. His eyes burned red with rage. In one sweeping motion, he knocked every bottle off the table, sending glass and liquid crashing to the floor. The air in the room turned heavy. Those present were frozen in shock. It was the first time anyone had seen Ethan lose control like this, and no one dared to speak. Then a troubling thought flashed through Ethan's mind. Ian had never called him brother-in-law, nor had he ever referred to Naomi as sister. That had to mean something. Without another word, Ethan jumped into his car and sped to Ian's company. As soon as he entered the top-floor office, he grabbed Ian by the collar and landed a punch straight to his face, grinding his teeth. Ethan spat. "You are really something. I treated you like a brother-in-law, and all along, you liked your own sister." Ian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and gave a cold, contemptuous smile. "You truly deserve to be my brother-in-law. Open our chat history. Go ahead, read everything." Though confused, Ethan pulled out his phone and opened the chat with Ian. It was easy to find. Ethan had messaged him often. As he scrolled through the messages, his face drained of color. "Accompany your sister to her prenatal checkup. She has severe morning sickness and refuses to eat. Please go check on her. She is depressed after giving birth. Take her on a trip if you can. Naomi has a fever. Naomi is upset again. I cannot handle her. Please help. Naomi was in a car accident. Please take care of her." Message after message, Ian had responded to every one of them immediately. But Ethan noticed something crucial. Ian had never initiated a single conversation. Not once had he reached out on his own. It had always been Ethan who asked him to help, and every time, Ian had dropped everything and gone to Naomi's side. In this so-called marriage, it was Ian who had accompanied Naomi to 14 prenatal checkups. Ethan had always been too busy. Ian had quietly taken on the role of a husband, and Ethan had only now realized it. He used to admire the close bond between the siblings, thinking how lucky Naomi was to have such a supportive brother. He never understood what he was really seeing. Ian was the CEO of a listed company, yet no matter how busy he was, as soon as Ethan sent a message about Naomi, Ian responded right away and showed up. Ethan's hands trembled as he scrolled through more messages. Suddenly, Ian punched him hard in the face. Ethan did not dodge. The blow sent him stumbling into the wall. Ian stood over him, his expression cold. "Now that you have read it, what do you think? I have wanted to hit you for a long time. When Naomi was in labor, where were you? Let me answer that. You were abroad watching Claire's concert while your wife and child were missing. When she had a car accident, it was because you left her on the highway. For Claire, when she was sick, when she was in pain, when she needed you, you left her again and again. Did it ever cross your mind that she was your wife?" Ethan opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. Every accusation was true. It was as if invisible hands were wrapped around his throat, choking him. His mind went blank. When I heard from my assistant that Ethan had stormed into Ian's office in a rage, I immediately called the security team and rushed to the top floor. "Ethan, what are you doing?" I shouted as the elevator doors opened. I stepped out just in time to see Ethan gripping Ian's collar. Full of fury, the security guard stepped in to pull him away, and I quickly stepped between them. Ian's pale face was bruised and his lip was swollen. His eyes welled up with tears. He looked pitiful. I gently touched his face, my heart aching. "Is this what your upbringing taught you?" I asked Ethan, my voice steady. Ethan's body stiffened. In my eyes, he saw something he had never seen before. Disgust. "Naomi, I am hurting too," he said hoarsely. I turned my eyes away and walked out with Ian. "Security," I said, "escort him out. Do not allow unrelated people to enter the company again." Later, Ethan sent Lucas to me. perhaps hoping I would soften, hoping the bond between mother and child could hold me back, but I was no longer the woman I used to be. Little one, I said gently, do not come looking for me again, I have divorced your father. I am no longer your mother. Lucas's face fell, panic flashing in his eyes. Mom, I want to eat your cooking, I want your bedtime stories, I want you to hold me while I sleep. Lucas, I replied softly, anyone can do those things, you are just not used to me being gone. I turned to leave, but Lucas clutched my skirt tightly, his small voice trembling. No, Mom, I know I was wrong. That day, I was just being silly. I do not like Aunt Claire, I promise, I will not do anything like that again. Dad said you would come back once you remembered everything, but you do remember me, and you still don't want me anymore. Grandma Wang told me you had a very hard time when you were pregnant with me. I was such a bad kid. I made you angry all the time. I looked down at him. Lucas, I said. Never wait until something is gone to realize how much it mattered. Tears poured down his cheeks as he hugged my legs tightly. Mom, have I really lost you? I knelt down beside him, brushing his hair gently. This is the last lesson I will ever teach you as your mother. I said, do not speak badly about the people you love, or those who love you. You must learn to show respect, because only then will you be respected. When people are hurt enough, they leave. Lucas sobbed harder, his tears and snot soaking into my dress. Mom, give me another chance, he cried. I promise I will change. I will not be like Dad. Please believe me. I am still your baby. I helped him up and looked into his eyes one last time. Lucas, your father and I are no longer together. I will never go back to that house again. He wiped his tears and said, Mom, if you don't want Dad, then I don't want him either. If you don't come see me, can I still come visit you? I promise I'll be good. It was his choice to make. People can never truly teach other people. But life can. Sometimes, only through unforgettable pain comes real understanding. All I can hope is that Lucas eventually sets aside his arrogance and prejudice, that he grows into someone kind and honest, someone who does not let down the people who love him. I just pray he does not repeat the same mistakes his father made. That day, I had just signed a major order at a client company and was about to drive home when I ran into Claire. She invited me to sit with her at Cafe Naomi. She said, last time at the hospital. I thought Lucas was just testing if you had really lost your memory, so I didn't speak up. I owe you an apology for that. I never should have gotten involved in your and Ethan's lives, and I definitely shouldn't have accepted money to become Lucas's tutor. Claire lowered her head. I replied gently, you're not the reason Ethan and I divorced. You don't need to blame yourself. I know what kind of person you are. The truth is, I still owed Claire a favor. Claire had transferred into our class in the second year of high school. At that time, she was known as a little princess in Beijing society. Yet she was never arrogant. She greeted people with a gentle smile and had a strong, steady presence. Back then, I was only 17, and desperately wanted to fit in with Ethan's crowd. I was vain, insecure, and always trying to impress people who only laughed at me. But not Claire, she told me. Only when you truly focus on yourself does the universe revolve around you. It turns out, she understood far more than I did. I quit that job after you left, she said. I figured it out. I can't keep living off the Pei family's pity. I need to be strong on my own. I opened my phone and transferred a file to her. To repay Claire's past kindness, I had secretly investigated the downfall of Wen's, her family's company. Wen's was a century-old business empire. Not just wealthy but unimaginably powerful. Its sudden collapse had always seemed suspicious. I dug up traces of misconduct by some relatives overseas. The rest was up to her. But I believed the odds of her family's comeback were high. Even a thin camel is bigger than a horse. Claire was deeply grateful when she saw the file. Then, as if reminded of something, she suddenly asked about Ethan. I pointed out the window. Ian was waiting outside in a grey coat, patiently standing there. She smiled sincerely. I wish you happiness. Ethan was never worth it. We both laughed. Then she added, Ethan said he had something to talk to you about. When we met, Ethan began recounting memories from our past, trying to remind me of our better days. I stopped him. You can go back to the past, I said. But no one is there anymore. He reached out and grabbed my hand, his voice trembling. Naomi, I'm sure now, the person I love is you, only you. I gently pulled my hand away and looked him in the eye. Love does not need to be confirmed, only uncertain love needs to be proven over and over again. Still, he persisted, Naomi, tomorrow is my birthday, you always make me a bowl of longevity noodles on my birthday. I looked at him steadily. Ethan, did you know that last Sunday was my birthday? His lips pressed together. He was silent for a few moments, then his expression filled with regret. You see, I said softly. The person you truly love is yourself. I'm sorry, he said quickly. I will make it up to you. I'll throw the grandest birthday party. But I shook my head. It's not about birthdays anymore. That time is gone. There's no need. Ethan, you still don't get it. When something is missed, it's missed. I've already made an appointment at the Civil Affairs Bureau. I'll go tomorrow to finalize the divorce. I paused and smiled faintly. Leaving you was how I finally learned to love myself. So please, stop interfering in my life. Without waiting for his reply, I turned and ran toward Ian. He had been waiting for me in the cold for so long, and I was not going to make him wait anymore. Ethan, it was not until the moment I received the divorce certificate that I truly understood. I had lost Naomi. Before that, even when signing the divorce papers, I felt no fear. I always believed that once Naomi regained her memory, we could return to how we once were, but I never expected the truth. She never lost her memory. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. I was consumed by panic, feeling as if something precious had slipped right through my fingers. Humans are slow to realize what they have until it is gone. Only then do they begin to understand the value of what they failed to cherish. I began scrolling through her old social media posts and the daily messages she used to send me. I could not help but laugh through my tears as I reread the messages she had once sent so enthusiastically, describing the little joys of her day. There were long paragraphs, so full of life, but my replies were short, if I replied at all. Over time, she stopped sending messages altogether. The desire to share does not disappear, it just moves somewhere else. She had started confiding in Ian instead. Without my noticing, Ian had slowly become part of every aspect of Naomi's life, and I had taken it all for granted, always assuming her love would be there, always believing that I was the one being adored. I always thought she would never leave, I was so sure of it. Until the day I actually lost her, only then did it hit me, with crushing clarity. I had loved Naomi all along, but by the time I realized it, she was already gone. Lucas left too. He said he was heading to boarding school, that he did not want to hire anyone to look after him. He insisted he could take care of himself. After Lucas left, I was the only one left in that huge house. It no longer felt like a home. The warmth, the laughter, everything had disappeared. Naomi was so heartless. She did not even leave a single thing behind. No clothes, no photos, not even a trace of her scent. It was as if she had never been there at all. Sometimes, I envy Lucas. At least he still gets to see his mother every week, still gets to hear her voice when he calls. As for me, all I have left is a bottle in my hand. I drink every day just to numb the ache, to silence the memories of her that keep haunting me. I see her in every corner of this house, her smile, her voice, the way she used to sit beside me. It plays on a loop in my mind. Guilt and regret weigh on me, heavier each day. I hate myself for the chances I missed, for the times I pushed her away when all she wanted was to love me. I lie awake at night with a hollow feeling in my chest. I met someone who loved me deeply, unconditionally, and I ruined it. I had happiness within reach, and I let it slip through my fingers. Sometimes I take out the only photo we ever took together on our wedding day. I stare at it for hours, and the tears fall without warning. Why could my future self not go back 6 years to warn me, to tell me not to hurt her, not to drive her away, not to let her go? If I had another chance, I would hold her hand and never let go. Not even death would tear us apart, but life does not give second chances. There is no if. Now she is getting married to someone else. Just a few months ago, she was still my wife. Now she belongs to another man. I was a wreck when I heard the news. I told Lucas about her marriage to Ian, expecting him to be heartbroken like I was, to feel betrayed, but Lucas was not sad. He was happy for her. Mom is really happy with Uncle Ian, he said. I just want her to be happy. Even a child could see it. She was happier with Ian. What right did I have to blame her? I went to the wedding. I never got to give Naomi a proper ceremony. But Ian did, and it was grand. Lucas volunteered to be the flower boy. I stood at the back, watching everything unfold. I never realized just how beautiful Naomi could look in a wedding dress. That day, she shone like never before. I wish you happiness, I whispered. Thank you, she said, smiling at me, so calm. So at peace. She had moved on, she had found her closure, and I had lost everything. I missed the one chance I had at real happiness, and I know now, I will never be happy again. That is my punishment, and I deserve it. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.